All right, class, Math 1301. We're doing this online class for the Friday before spring break. This class focuses on section 6.9 in algebra. It has to do with quadratic type equations that look something like this. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You might be familiar with this. There's an equation called the quadratic equation where you can use these variables, these constants in front of the variables and this constant by itself to solve for x. And this is also what's called the standard form for this. And so we can do the following. We get it in this form. We can do either use the quadratic equation, an equation you'll get on the test that looks something like this. Where you can plug in these variables, a, b, and c, into this equation. And this quadratic equation will give you either there's no solution because you get a square root of a negative number, or there's one solution because this all equals 0, or you get two solutions. And most commonly, you get a couple of different solutions for something structured like this. Now, what we're going to look at is the factoring that is involved in solving these, and then we'll come back to this quadratic equation in a moment. But you remember the FOIL method. So if we have something that looks like this, we have, say, x plus 2 times x plus 5, and we want to do FOIL on this. Remember FOIL? First, outside, inside, and last. So first is x squared, x times x is x squared. Then outside, which is plus 5x, 5 times x, plus inside, which is 2x, plus the last, which is 5 times 2. There's the last, that's L. 5 times 2, which is plus 10. And that gives us x squared plus 7x plus 10. So that's the FOIL method. And what we want to do now, though, is reverse the FOIL method. And the way to reverse it is that there are 4 basic factoring cases. And those cases involve these plus and minus signs here. You always want a positive A, so you always want that one to be positive, and these are then positive or negative. So as an example, a really simple example would be something like this. There's a case where case 1 is where they're both positive. So case 1 is where you have a plus and a plus. So as an example, you'd have something like this. X squared plus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0. And we're asked to solve for x here. And the first thing you always do if you're solving by factoring is, you remember up here in the FOIL method, we had these parentheses. And so we're going to set this up like this. And since we have an x squared with no multipliers in front of it, you see that? It's just x squared. There's a 1 implied there, right? When that happens, we know this is x and x. Now this first case, case 1, where they're both positive, we know already that these are both positives. This is the easiest case of the 4 cases. If both of these are positive, then we know that both of these are positive. So now we're left to the following. What two numbers multiply together give us 4 that sum together and give us 5? So to get 4, we either have 2 times 2 equals 4, or we have 4 times 1 equals to 4. So now we have to decide, is it 2 times 2 or 4 times 1? Now, if we did 2 times 2, if we had a 2 and a 2, if we then did FOIL on them, we would get 2x and 2x. We'd add those together, we get 4x. We don't get 5. We have to be where the sum of these equals 5. 2 plus 2 equals 4, not 5. 4 times 1 equals 4. 4 plus 1 is, in fact, equal to 5. So that's our factors. And now we've set them equal to 0. And now there's this basic mathematical principle that if I have A times B equals 0, that means that A equals 0 or B has to equal 0. If I multiply two numbers together and the outcome is 0, the only way that can happen is if either A or B or both of them are equal to 0. So we use this, this mathematical principle, this multiplication principle, that if you multiply two numbers together and get 0, that means one of them or both of them are equal to 0. So using that idea, where we've set this equal to 0, we know that either x plus 4 is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0. And x plus 4 equal to 0 means that x would have to equal to minus 4. Do you see that? Minus 4 plus 4 is 0. And x plus 1 equals to 0 means that x equals minus 1. And so this is an or. Either x equals minus 1 or x equals minus 4. And that would be the solution to that particular problem. So this is how you factor and solve for x using factoring, in this case where both are positive. Both of them are positive. We're going to find two numbers that multiply together that give us 4, that add together and give us 5. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And then we solve these things at the end, x equals minus 4 or x equals minus 1. You want to finish this problem by doing that last step. All right, so that's case 1 for factoring.